What's happening, guys? BJ here for another video. Today's video is going to be about how to boost testosterone naturally 10 ways. I'm just going to give it to you. Now, what is testosterone? Testosterone is a sex hormone that helps us have more energy, create more strength, grow more hair, and have that really gritty, grinded bar. So let's get into it. Tip number one, guys, move more. Whenever you have a really long day, 8 to 10 hours, that you hop in the car, you're constantly sitting and you're not moving enough. This is where most guys go wrong because they become couch potatoes and they sit stagnant and sedentary. And this is actually wreaking havoc on your testosterone production. What you have to understand, this is an estrogen promoting behavior where if you sit down for extended periods of time, not only are you developing tightness and stiffness around your hip flexors, but you're also decreasing that testosterone production that you need. Studies show that if you don't move enough and you aren't exercising, it actually elevates your fat percentage. So if you have a high body fat percentage, it's actually going to lower your testosterone and aromatize it into estrogen. Now, do whatever it takes to get off your ass. Get a skipping rope, do some burpees, play with your dog in the living room. Just do whatever it takes to get off your ass and make it happen. Tip number two is to lift weights. Now, this is inarguable. We cannot debate how significant lifting weights is going to be for growing skeletal muscle and therefore jacking up your testosterone production. Now, what we want to emphasize is multi-joints compound exercises that is going to elevate your testosterone levels and challenge your body to then force it into a growth phase or a muscle protein synthesis potential. The goal is to essentially create a micro traumas or tears in the muscles 2 to 4 times per week and then recover with the appropriate nutrition strategy. Now, tip number 3 is to get more sleep and get more sex. Now, they're basically the things that occur in the bedroom or outside of the bedroom, but just know that when you get better sleep quality, we should aim for 7 to 8 hours. That's the most appropriate time to be getting rest. But not only that, but we want to improve our circadian rhythm. So there's things that you want to emphasize when you go to sleep, like proper sleep hygiene. So we want to eliminate as much blue light as possible, which actually stimulates our glial cells, which makes it very difficult at night to fall asleep. Now, you know that feeling where you're staring up at the ceiling and you just can't go to sleep? Either you have too much caffeine in you or you're too stimulated by blue light. This is probably the worst sleep hygiene that you could possibly ever have, and it's going to decrease your chances of growing muscle because you're not going to get that appropriate sleep that you need. Now, the second one is getting more sex. Now, getting more sex, why? Well, it's proven that if you stare at pornography or you're around another naked opposite sex or same sex person, depending on which way you swing, but just know that if you're going to have sex, your testosterone elevates when you're in the desire to engage in coitus.
Okay, well, what's the third option?
Wait, that I have coitus with her.
Be careful because lack of sleep can actually elevate ghrelin. So there's this fine balance between having sex and going to sleep that you have to walk that tight. Lack of sleep increases your ghrelin and decreases your leptin. Poor sleep also promotes poor insulin resistance. They won't have readily uptake into your muscle or your liver. So therefore you don't have that capacity to use and most likely will turn to fat stores. That's why sleep and sex are so important. Tip number 4 is going to be limiting your alcohol consumption. Now, I know everyone loves to have a drink every now and then. A glass of wine has great amounts of polyphenols and antioxidants to actually help you grow more, help you develop more antioxidants to fight free radicals, and there's a lot of evidence on it. But just know that when you start to drink alcohol, that when you consume alcohol, it actually prioritizes digesting the ethanol. So it's therefore not focusing on digesting your fat. So if you actually have a large amount of alcohol in your system, it's going to prioritize the alcohol instead of the fat, which is therefore going to hinder your fat loss. Your liver is also stunted by its ability to produce more testosterone. And you also have to take into account that alcohol contains calories. It may not be a lot, but it still contains calories, and also the mixed drinks with alcohol contain extra calories. And lastly, the mTOR pathway of muscle protein synthesis is actually severely decreased when you're under the influence of alcohol, which then insulin growth factor 1 is therefore halted as well. So it's not a great time if you really want to be serious about building your muscle. And an extra tip is when you're under the influence of alcohol, it often leads into binge eating and making really poor cognitive decisions.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! I'm bigger than you, I'm higher in the food chain! Get in my belly!
Which leads me into point number 5, bad nutrition. Now, guys, what we choose to eat is so important, and I can't stress this enough. Not having the appropriate calorie structure that's suitable for your goals, whether you're eating in a calorie deficit, a calorie surplus, or calorie maintenance, is going to be massively detrimental to your goals when it comes to growing muscle, burning fat, and having the best body composition you could possibly develop. Now, often the most common bodybuilder thing is to go the 40-40-20. But what you have to understand is that everyone is different. So, if you're not a bodybuilder, that structure and that strategy is not going to work for you. You need to find something that you're eating already and just optimize it. That's it. All of the keto diets, all of the fasting, all of the Atkins, all of the vegan diet, the vegetarian diet, the end goal is always going to be a calorie deficit. Tip number 6 is stressing out. Now, there is something that I always want you to remember. It is don't sweat the small stuff. The more you give, the less quality of life you're going to have. If you are stressing a lot, just know that you're going to elevate a thing called cortisol. Now, cortisol is catabolic. It is the worst thing you can have for your gains. So I implore you, take a chill pill, relax to the max. So if you're constantly stressing over work,
Crush your head and crush it.
or constantly stressing over a relationship, or you just feel like you're completely out of control, take a chill pill, take a pause for the cause, and get levitated. The solution, and I know people don't want to hear it, is diaphragmatic breathing, yoga, meditation, energy clearing. Getting all that stuff handled is going to be super helpful for you. Tip number 7 is weight management. Now, not Weight Watchers, this isn't some gimmicky little info video. Weight management is about understanding where you are right now and finding out a plan and taking full responsibility. It is a proven fact, if you are obese or a fat person or out of shape or whatever you want to call it, just know that you are at risk of developing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, more so than the other population. So taking full responsibility on that, taking your life into your hands, is going to be the best solution possible for you. Just know that there is hope for you if you are fat or overweight or obese. That observational studies show that if you decrease your body fat percentage, you will jack up your testosterone levels enormously. And you're at a better position than, say, a skinny person to then put on muscle, because you've already developed a solid frame and therefore you can develop the best body possible. Because guys, and I always have this debate with my clients. I always have this debate with some people that if you are fat or overweight, you have a better muscle building potential than, say, a skinny person who has to spend years grinding away at stuffing his face and force feeding himself to put on muscle and size, because it is painfully slow. It is like watching paint dry to watch muscle grow as a skinny person. Tip number 8, reducing your sugar intake. Now, there are 2 different types of sugar. We have caster sugar, and then we have simple carbohydrates. Now, they're both completely different things. Now, this one here is going to rot your teeth. It's going to help you develop diabetes. Now, this one here is fruit sugars and all the delicious stuff that's good for you. Don't be mistaken by artificial sugars and natural sugars. Know that if you have 75 grams of sugar, it will decrease your testosterone production by 25%. That's just from having like a bag of lollies, or that's having soft drink. Something so ridiculous. All it takes is that much. Tip number 9, overtraining. Now, guys, if you're overtraining, you're actually building up a thing called lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is a good thing, but if you have too much of it, it develops a thing called hydrogen ions, and those things are actually acidic and catabolic and build up more cortisol than necessary for growth and development of muscle. So I urge you, if you are absolutely sore and in pain, and that no pain, no gain mentality is
Heavyweight! Yeah, buddy! Lightweight! Lightweight! Lightweight, baby! Go!
They did a study of 5 athletes who are overtraining, and they measured their spermogenic profile and their testosterone production. It turns out that your testosterone will drop by 39% and your sperm profile will drop by 43%. So overtraining is not good for you guys, and I strongly encourage that you develop a plan and a structure that makes sure that you don't overtrain. Tip number 10, avoiding xenoestrogens and T-lowering chemicals. Now, we've all heard of BPA or bisphenol. Bisphenol. You know your homie where he's like, don't use that plastic in that microwave, and your other homie is like, don't use those plastic jugs because they're full of BPA. Well, unfortunately, they are right to an extent. BPA reduces your androgens into estrogen, which means it is lowering your testosterone production very subtly, but it's still important to note that if you have BPA or any form of xenoestrogen, that it will hinder your testosterone production, your skeletal muscle growth, and your energy productions. All right, guys, so that's it. That's my 10 tips on how you can boost your testosterone naturally. If you guys like this video, make sure you click that like button, chuck a comment down below, and tell me what you thought of it. Click the bell notification, click subscribe. But that's all from me today, guys. So as always, be a better version of yourselves.